This theory is my white whale, big brain, galaxy brain theory. This is the theory I would put money on. As a disclaimer, I'm basing my theory on my understanding of the absolutely batshit fuck shit timeline that is talking about the adolescences of the Bat Bros, Tamlin, Morgan, Eris, all of those guys. It's very difficult to talk about that time period because everything is mired in unreliable narration and perspectives, given that Rhysand does not seem to know what the fuck he's talking about. But any allusion to this time period that we've gotten has been in pieces, so maybe the next couple books will solidify this. Maybe we can go back in time and see some things. Elaine being a fucking seer, maybe we can get some clarity on all of this. But as of now, today, we do not necessarily have all of the pieces here. So this theory is based on the pieces that we have right now. With that out of the way, we can commence. Azriel is born. I'm reasonably certain he's the oldest of the Bat Bros, but not by much. He is raised by his Illyrian nobility father. I could go on about whatever the fuck is the nobility system in the Night Court, but again, that is neither here nor there. He's an affair baby, so his biological mom and his mom is kept away from him, and he is raised by his abusive father. I'm assuming a shitty stepmom and a bunch of horrible brothers who burn his hands. He is coming from that environment, out of that, and into the dynamic of Rhysand's family. And as far as we know, Rhysand's childhood with his mom was pretty happy. Like, him and Cassian, like, they were vibing with Rhysand's mom. Like, Rhysand's mom is, by all accounts, a good mom. She's a shitty mother-in-law, but that is not the conversation we're having today. We don't know where Azriel sits in this dynamic because Azriel's mother does seem to still be alive, meaning that I don't know if Azriel would have internalized Rhysand's mom as a mother figure for himself, because, like, he has a mom, and, like, and his mom is established somewhere. So maybe Azriel, like, didn't live with them, but I do know that these three boys were raised together. Like, by all accounts, these three bros grew up together. They have been besties since Rhysand and Cassian stopped bullying Azriel. Okay, fine. This is when things start to get a little murky because there are two major things going on in the lives of Azriel, Bat Bros, whatever. It is the first war where the humans, they're trying to get freed from the bonds of slavery. Jurian is Abraham Lincoln, all that stuff. And Morgan enters the conversation. Morgan, for her part, is around Rhysand's age. So they are all roughly the same age when Morgan is essentially sold to Eris to be his teenage bride. And that sounds horrible until you realize that Eris is a little bit younger than Morgan, given the timeline. And that puts Eris at, like, maybe 11 at most when he is thus betrothed to a 17-year-old Morgan. So this is horrible for both of them. I fully expect that little detail to get retconned, but as of now, Morgan was a teenager being sold to a child. So even though a teenage Azriel is in love with Morgan, Morgan has bigger fish to fry. She cannot deal with Azriel right now because she is about to get sold to an 11-year-old, probably for an army, given that the war was probably happening around this time as well. We don't know whether the war was before or after this, but it would make sense that these things were happening simultaneously, because why would the Night Court want Morgan to marry somebody from the Autumn Court anyway? Like, this is the first time that we've ever seen anybody talk about a marriage arrangement like this. So it would make sense that this is not necessarily normal, and they're doing this as a way to shore up alliances for the war to help free the slaves. There's also the whole, like, teeny tiny little detail that Morgan is gay, but I feel like that is less of a motivator of why she would want to get out of the situation. I don't think she would want to be in this situation if she was exclusively straight, you know? So she goes up to Cassian and she's like, hey, I need to get out of this situation. I need you to take my virginity in order for all of this to go away. Like, and she's thinking that if she's, spoiled or otherwise, like, touched or whatever, that Baron Van Sarah isn't going to want her to marry Eris, and therefore she can be let go. She notably does not ask Azriel for this because Azriel likes her. Like, she's being considerate. Like, this is, she would literally be using him, and she didn't want to use Azriel like that. Whereas Cassian, that's her friend. She's asking for a favor. So Cassian does the do. Everything blows up in everybody's face. And then everything happens with Morgan, and she's tortured by, from what I understand, Kieran. Like, she's tortured by the Night Court and left in the woods, the Autumn Court woods. Okay, fine. Now, if I am correct, this is when Rhysand and Tamlin are becoming friends. They're still teenagers at this. Like, I think they're still young at this point. We don't know how close Cassian and Azriel are to Tamlin, but Rhysand kind of talks about Tamlin somewhat fondly, nostalgically, when he's not telling him to kill himself. And Cassian and Azriel don't do that, so I would argue that Tamlin is more Rhysand's friend canonically than Cassian and Azriel's. This also really lends credence to the idea that Tamlin and Rhysand were dating in secret and are exes, but again, not the conversation we're having right now. Rhysand has a chapter in Akawar where he is talking about he is in the battlefield. He's looking for Cassian among the bodies because he lost him during the battle. And he mentions he does not have to look for Azriel. He knows where Azriel is. Azriel was kept away from the fighting because he's a shadow singer. He was kept there by Rhysand's father. So Rhysand's father has taken a special interest in Azriel. So when everything goes down with Morgan and Morgan is tortured by the Night Court, it would make sense that Azriel was there for it, that Rhysand's father made him participate. When you think about how Azriel is characterized, where even Rhysand says stuff like Azriel's like the uncontrollable one, like he's the one who, out of him and Cassian, I would expect him to push back on orders. Cassian kind of goes with the flow, like he does eventually fall in line. Azriel, if he does not want to do a thing, he's not doing it. So it would make sense that Azriel would probably push back a little bit with Rhysand's father, especially because he's been through a lot of shit in his childhood. He's like, my brother's burnt my hands. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do to me? But Rhysand's father is probably not stupid. He probably knows that a teenage Azriel is in love with Morgan at this point. And when Morgan, everything goes down, I could truly see that situation coming to a head and them making Azriel participate in Morgan's torture. Morgan is left in the Autumn Court woods specifically for Eris. So he left him, they left her where Eris would find her. Eris, being younger, as far as we know, Eris is a teenager at this point, and he knows that Morgan doesn't want to marry him. Like, he's not an idiot. So he's like, he leaves her in the woods. Like, this is like, and by all accounts, he left her in the woods. Azriel finds her the next day, and people just kind of assume that maybe Eris tipped him off and like let him know, but we don't really have any indication that might have that could have happened. The way that I think Azriel knew where to find Morgan is because Azriel was there when they dumped her in the woods, because he was there when they did all that shit to her. So he waited a day when he can get away, and he ran over there to get her out of there. Rhysand then concludes this whole story to Feyre by saying that when Azriel went to go rescue Morgan, he like opened his mouth, he started to say something like, Morgan, like, I love you, please love me back, all that sort of stuff. But logically, that makes no sense for Azriel to say at that moment. Like, he's not an idiot. Like, she has a nail in her uterus. Like, this is not about you or your heart or your penis, Azriel. I just think that Rhysand is vastly assuming things about what Azriel would have said in that moment, because I don't think that he said that. I think what he was actually going to tell Morgan was, I'm sorry that this happened. I'm sorry that I was part of it. It was either they made me do it to you or they were going to kill you, and I didn't want you to die. And Morgan, like, she walks away. She doesn't want to hear it. They have never spoken about it since, and they're cool and they're friends, but this thing is sitting in between them, and this thing has been eating away at both of them, which is why they're so fucking awkward around each other. Because Azriel definitely doesn't act like he's in love with her like that. I think he had a crush on her, and that kind of turned into something awful. So, like, I don't think he lets himself love women like that. If anything, that's probably why Elaine scares him so much, because the last time he touched a woman that he liked a lot, he had to torture her. Like he feels like he can't even touch Elaine without sullying her, and that's canonical. So yeah, that's my theory. I think that Rhysand's father and Kier and like the Night Court nobility, they made Azriel put hands on Morgan and do bad things to her in order to keep him under control, which then is the start of all of his awful self-esteem issues and the stuff that he's going to have to work through in his relationship with Elaine or whatever other redhead that's going to get thrown at him. Barring any kind of timeline retcon or timeline shakeup, this is my white whale theory. I truly think that this is the thing, because nothing about any of that makes sense unless you consider this.